We'll get going. So welcome everybody, our launch party for Complete Book of Awakening. Did anybody else bring a copy? We were thinking if we had a few copies floating around, we could do a little photo later of everybody's smiling faces with a copy of the book. So this evening then, we're going to do, we'll do a little collective cheers with whether you've got a baby bottle or a yeah, or you could do your reaction on the screen, Kay, that's true, or a mug. We're going to have some winners for copies of these unique proof copies of the book. We're going to talk a bit about the purpose of the book, a bit about the background, why we've written it, what it's for, and we're going to do an exploration together so that some of you I know have read it, obviously, because some of you were in the actual book group and the test readers, so you've definitely read it. But I know also some of you have started reading it and may well have already therefore experienced some of the explorations, but we're going to do one together so that we can, it's nice to do them together anyway. And for those who don't know about the content of the book yet, you'll get to see the kind of the way we've done it. And then, yeah, we'll have some time for questions and any thoughts and anything you want to ask about. And you can ask Anna, the artist of the cover, any questions too. That's all right, isn't it, Anna? If you want to know anything about Anna's creative process. Obviously, I personally love Anna's artwork. It's so so full of love and energy and emotion. So it was very exciting when Sarah suggested that for the cover. So yeah. So does that all? You can't really say yes, but if that all sounds good, then we can make a start. So is there anything you want to say before we do a little celebratory hurrah?
No, just really glad to see all of you here, apart from a little bit shocked because it means some of you have been reading it, which is always a surprise to me. But yeah, let's push on.
Well, let's begin then with a little, I kind of feel like we should have a this is elderflower, by the way, Sarah, you wouldn't want this. It's all right for me. Quite like having elderflower in a posh glass. I feel like we should have a maitre d' or something, or a, what they called, a compere, to say, awesome to us. For those of you who know, we very much feel like we've been guided through this. So cheers to life, really. Cheers to life for giving us this opportunity and for absolutely guiding us through this process. And massive cheers to you, Sarah, for being partner in crime.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Everybody has to know this was Helen's idea, and she did so much work to get it off the ground.
Yeah, it's been an amazing team effort. It's truly joyful, and and really pretty seamless. It's been amazing. So what should we do then? Should we start with a winner before we do some purpose, or do you want to go straight ahead with purpose stuff, Sarah?
I would do the purpose first, and then we can stop the recording.
Cool. Do you want to start with that then, and then I'll pick up some stuff?
Yeah, so almost about a year ago, Helen said, do you fancy joining in with this book? And I said, yeah, thinking it was a little book. And 80,000 words later, we really had to admit it wasn't. But the one thing that's kept us, I think, both on track and working so smoothly is I think we've both got this, like, our overriding ambition is for people to live happy, engaged and fulfilling life, regardless of the circumstances of their life. And that for anything that comes from that to come from that. And the scientific evidence is that most people who live this fulfilled, happy, engaged life have a non-dual understanding. And that can be within a religious tradition or outside of a religious tradition. So we've tried, I think, really hard all the way through to not fall into the language of any religion, Eastern or Western, but to keep to what's common and therefore what's hopefully accessible to everybody in any situation. And it's not the the way we've described things, and we've described things in a lot of different ways, it's definitely not the only route, but we know what the most functional, most stable, most happy version of non-duality looks like. And we feel, I think, that when we guide you to that, if you happen to be in a position in life and have the inclination to explore down all kinds of rabbit holes, you can. And we've both been down a few in our time, and I continue to, with a great deal of enthusiasm, but you don't have to. And that, I think, is the wonder of something like this, especially when we tested it in a book group and we were like, oh, you can kind of do this as a couple of hours a week for 12 weeks, and then you can put it down and know that it's there to refer to. It's not like a practice or a commitment or anything else. It's something that you can explore and move on from, or explore and stay with. But that, however exciting the exploration for its own sake is, that just like that growing sense of calm, centered happiness and freedom, however it shows up for you, and that's always my goal in my work, whatever I'm doing with somebody. Helen.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I love that, because obviously that's what we all know is available. Like, that's why we've been running around trying to find that happiness, that calm, that centeredness, that stability. Yeah, we've tried so many different, I mean, even just between the two of us, we've tried a lot of different tools and techniques and approaches and strategies, and it's not that any of them are wrong, but like you said before, it's that this is the most simple. In theory, we've tried to explain it in the most simple way possible, which is aligned with some of the feedback we've had. It's been delightful to hear people say, oh, the way you've written is so uncluttered. There's so much space in it. There's so much, there is simplicity in it, which leaves space for the reader to bring themselves to it, leaves space for the reader to have their own insights and realizations around it, and kind of has kept us out of it as much as possible. Probably helped by the fact we found that we both had a fairly similar writing style, and that, you know, both probably fairly logical and direct and simple language anyway, you know, simple, clear language. And certainly one of the things that drew me to inviting Sarah to come and join in with it was because of Sarah's rigor with language. So when I'd gone to Sarah's webinar about a year ago, just before asking her to join in, was that was one of the things that struck me, that, and I'd seen from you before, Sarah, but it was like, oh yeah, that will be perfect for this, because I've been aware on my own journey of people using different words for meaning the same thing within one conversation, or two different people using different words for the same thing, and just feeling kind of half of my work was sort of trying to figure out the library of language. So I think that was something that really, really was important to us, wasn't it? Of that consistency of use of language and use of descriptions, and yeah, just as much simplicity and as much consistency as possible. And also to guide you on a journey, which, like you said about the book group, Sarah, and testing it with everybody, both the book group and the independent readers, was so valuable to the process, because it helped us add lots more colour to the journey, and lots more, I guess, pointers of things you might trip up on, or things that might get in the way, or things that might raise a question, so that we could kind of bring that into the conversation of the book, to bring it alive a little more. And yeah, fundamentally, because why would we not want more people to live a calm, happy, stable life? I was just saying in the World Food community yesterday how heartbroken I've been feeling about some of the stuff we do to each other in the world, some of the ways we behave with each other, some of the ways we treat each other. It is really heartbreaking, and that's only possible from the belief of being this separate body that needs to protect itself, and therefore I'm going to hurt that body over there. So it's massive to me that the potential for changing the dynamic in the world if more people knew that this was their fundamental nature, it could literally change, it could change the world. So yeah, anything you want to say, Sarah, before we move on to the next bit?
Yeah, I liked when you said something about the leaving space for the reader, and the bit you didn't say was leaving space for the reader to argue with us. There is plenty of space to hold those arguments, because we'll use a word and you won't like that word, or you'll have been in a tradition where that word has a slightly different meaning, and or something will start to rub up against your conditioning, or will have just really messed up a sentence. I didn't swear, I get a point. Will really have messed something up and just garbled it, because however hard we read and read and read and read, and I think in the course of 1 week we both read it about 8 times, there are mistakes, not necessarily in the content, but in little bits of grammar and flow, occasionally not the 100%, but that's always the case with a book. So there's going to be things that people want to have an argument with us. They might even want to be the stroppy teenager and slam the door and say, I hate you and I don't want you to be my authors anymore. All those things are possible. And I think the structure of the book holds space for that too. And I kind of get quite pleased when people get cross with me, because it shows they're really engaging. And when you really engage at a level where you're open to the possibility of shifting your worldview, it might rub up against something you learnt when you were 5, or just rules that you've been carrying around for yourself all your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I might just say a little bit then in relation to that and the potential for disruption and feeling frustrated with us. Just speak a little bit about the purposeful order that we've written the book in. And then, yeah, Anna, if it's okay, I'll just tell the story about the artwork. It'd be lovely to hear a little bit from you about your creative process, and perhaps specifically that piece. I don't know if you remember painting it, but that'd be lovely if you have something to add. But yeah, so the normal approach to a non-dual exploration would be to begin with not what you're not, and to strip away all of that identity, all of the stuff you've identified with that you are not. And then in the stripping away of that, all you're left with is what you are, who you are. And in the book, we've flipped that. We started with who you are and then moved into what you're not. Because although there could well be frustrations still arise as you move into part 2 with that what you're not, like Sarah says, there could be things that you're kind of attached to that you got taught when you were 5. But we've given the best opportunity to provide a safe ground by having part 1 as who you are, to give that clarity of that stability, of that calm, of that peacefulness, of that joy, of that essential nature of ourselves. So that then when you do come to part 2 and what you're not, you're doing it from a much stronger standpoint and a much more stable standpoint. So there could well be frustrations, there could well be irritations. We have seen that in all aspects of our work. But there are pointers back to part 1. Remember, you can always go back to part 1 and remember who you are. And then when it feels right, you continue on your journey. And I guess we've also seen that people are very much, there's an intuition of what to do in that respect, isn't there? Of whether to continue on ahead or whether to take a little break, and you can trust that for yourself, that you'll know what to do, when to do it for your own journey. So yeah, should I go on then and talk a bit about the cover? Because it is such a beautiful journey from, well, I think it is anyway, from my 40th birthday, when I said to my family, so my mum and brother and sister, I said I'd really love a piece of Anna's artwork for my birthday. So Anna lives like 15 minutes from me, and we were at school together, and for a year at least, when I came here for school for a year. And it's so lovely. We've come back, we've got some connected friends, and we do yoga together on a Monday. And then, so I went to Anna for a piece of artwork for my 40th. And I just remember standing in your studio, Anna, and was like, oh, yeah, that one. I like that one. And I phoned James, my husband, and I think I showed him a picture, and I was like, what do you think? What do you think? And bless him, he was just like, well, it's your thing, it's your present. You choose if you like it. And the thing I always loved about it was this sense of like this little person standing there, and what I saw, which I don't think it was actually what you intended, Anna. From my memory, when I came to look at it, I described that I saw this person with this huge expanse of possibility, you know, flowing out from behind them. And so and that was before I even came across anything to do with this conversation, but it massively spoke to something in me, which, yeah, evidently I didn't understand fully at that point. And then the next step in the journey was when Sarah and I thought about having a live book group to test the book. I was like, oh, it'd be lovely to have some thank you cards we could send everybody. And I can't even remember why, but yeah, I came to you, didn't I, Anna, and said, oh, could you turn that painting into cards? Which you could. And so we ordered some cards, and this was, I think, even before the live group had started. So cards were ordered well in advance of ever saying thank you to anybody. And then just as part of the process, Sarah was like mocking up some like a temporary cover, a work in progress cover, like this will do for now. And oh, thanks, Jessie Lynn. So yeah, Sarah put this temporary cover on it, and then it was like, well, actually, we quite like that. I think that actually might be the cover. So and it's had such lovely feedback. Everyone's been commenting on it and saying how beautiful it is and how, yeah, there's so much to it. So Anna, it'd be lovely to hear from you what that piece is like for you.
Yeah. So I would say that I am generally a sort of process-led artist. So I might start off with a concept or an idea, and I then kind of find myself guided into flow. So I like the fact that you use that word. And often my pieces of artwork are like meditations for myself, actually. So it might be that I'm experiencing something and I want to convey that into colours and forms and shapes. And as an artist, well, as all artists, we work very independently, but what we do is manifest and process information in our own sort of way, whether it's kind of through colours or shapes. And a lot of my work is driven by connections or understanding connections, the way that humans interconnect, and how, kind of aligning with your book, how often we believe that we're disconnected. But as soon as you start to contemplate things, even on a cellular level, I was explaining to my children today how you can shift energy through everything. I was, be careful with the words you use because they project and they come back somehow. And actually, the more I dive deep into that story, the more it feels really profound. So perhaps that piece, Helen, was maybe at the beginning of my journey into myself, but I was projecting the person as kind of the viewer of the world. And I like, as many artists do, to kind of convey some sort of cyclical element or a spiral or something within my artwork, the infinite as well. So yeah, it was true that you were really drawn to that piece. I had quite a few pieces up there. You were like, no, I like that one, whereas that never ever happens. So it was quite a nice experience just to have somebody who was quite clear about things. And I think maybe that's also the way you are in general, with your book being kind of clear and concise as well. And I'm absolutely thrilled that you decided to use my piece of art on your book cover. I really like to see my art in different forms too. So not just on a wall. I think it's really fun to see it and to know that many people have them in their bookshelves. That's exciting. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, Sarah, anything you'd like to finish off with before we hit stop on the recording?
Just this isn't a kind of like publish and move on exercise for us. It's we're establishing as a permanent home for the book, and there'll be more free resources, there'll be more low cost self-study courses, there'll be more groups, hopefully retreats. So we're here to answer questions, and if you ask us a question that we can't answer quickly and easily, then we might offer you other ways of finding those answers. But I love questions, because that's how I create. I don't create in a vacuum. It has to be in response. I talked to somebody yesterday, unfortunately he was exactly the same, so it took us a minute or two to get going, because we both needed something to fire off. But we're here, and you can find us, and tell us when you hate us, and tell us when you love it, and tell us when something doesn't make sense, and whatever it is, there's space for that too.
Lovely, thank you.